Hello, everybody. It is 6:29, 6:30 a.m. Central Time on Wednesday, December 28th, 2016. Welcome into the Earthquake 3D live stream for all repeat viewers and longtime subscribers. And to everybody here who's new, please subscribe up. I do these updates on a daily basis, and we issue semi-daily and weekly earthquake forecasts for locations around the planet to be on watch. If you're not aware, we issued a warning over the past 2 to 3 days for the West Coast to be on watch for a 5.7 to 5.8 earthquake. And the region was struck, California was struck at least, and you can see 5.7 struck the West Coast at the California border with Nevada. But not just a 5.7. The swarm that's stacked here off the screen is tremendous. A whole swarm of 2s, 3s, 4s, and additional 5.0 size earthquakes. 5.5, I'll highlight that. Another one, 5.4 somewhere in here. Another 5.6 mixed in, and another 5.7. So technically, there was 2 5.7s. And I think it's important for us to go look up the earthquake information and show you where the earthquake struck. And when I show you where it struck, I think it's going to make a little sense to you why it's significant, why a swarm is happening, and why that we're seeing earthquakes go from 19 kilometers up to 0 kilometers. Now, when I zoom in, don't be alarmed, okay? First of all, right off the bat, don't be scared. Do not be scared by what I'm about to show you. The swarm is happening on the flanks of a location called Aurora Crater. And it's obvious, okay, first of all, the name is designated by the USGS, that's not me. And you can see it, okay, it's topped by obsidian and black basalt, and the lava flows on this are fairly obvious. I think anybody, maybe you guys can't see this yet. Hold on. Okay, take a look at the screen now. All right, you can see it now. We're having problems trying to get the display capture to show on my live stream program. No problem. Okay, so here we go. We're going to zoom in on the coordinates again from the earthquake. Okay, and this is from the USGS, these coordinates, so you don't have to question them. You guys can go pull them yourselves. And it brings us down in the middle of a road in the desert. But just about a mile or two away, a few miles away, we have a place called Aurora Crater. Okay, Aurora Crater, as you can see on the screen now, is capped by black obsidian and, of course, basalt, and these are lava flows that extend off of Aurora Peak. And so I'll bring this around at an angle, and you'll see here's the old chunky lava flow that's still somewhat exposed, covered with sand, but it's obvious. And if you needed any more telltale clues, over to the west, we have a much younger lava flow, and it's an unnamed volcanic butte. But this is impressive, and I've shown this so many times over the past few months. We saw moderate small swarms breaking out at this volcanic butte and over at Aurora Crater for the last several months. Enough so that I showed this so many times and zoomed in on it. My longtime viewers are probably sick of me showing this little volcano. Well, we might as well call it Mount Dutch 2.0 or something, or Mount Since, or something like that, because, I mean, it probably has a name. I'm sure that somebody has gone out and studied this, but it's not on the place mark list. So it's unnamed volcanic butte next to Aurora Crater. So somebody maybe can find out the actual designated name for that. I haven't been able to find it yet, and these are downloaded from, of course, from the USGS and Smithsonian. So our swarm is striking on the flanks of 2 volcanoes. Do not be alarmed. Okay, so don't be scared. The reason that there's a swarm striking here, first of all, it's on the flanks of Mono Lake supervolcano. This is half the size of Yellowstone, but it's still a supervolcano. It's sent off multiple blasts in the past that have created this crater, and at the center now, there's a rising dome that's been rising for a few hundred years. Let me get a sip of my coffee. Hope you guys got your coffee or your cocoa or whatever it is you drink. I've been up for 24 hours, and I'm going to keep going as long as I can throughout the day-to-day as this keeps going, because we've got some threat areas down the stream from here. And when I say down the stream, I'm talking about the seismic stream that we have marked on the Earthquake 3D map, and we have to look to the areas to the east by southeast. Why do we have to look to the areas by east by southeast? Well, this goes back a day and a half. This goes back to yesterday when the 4.3 that you see off the coast here struck up in our red arrow. It wasn't a 4.3. I showed it to everybody last night at 10 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. West Coast Time. Last night, showed them this 4.3 and the station list and let everybody decide for themselves what the earthquake was. And it was a dramatic 1.5 magnitude downgrade. If they take it to 2.0, that's 100 times less power. So they downgraded it so far, but it was a 5.7 to 5.8. One station reporting 6.9. But they went with the ultra low ball, which resulted in a 4.3 finally being the determined downgrade that they did. But I said last night it was more like a 5.7, and we would know for certain if another earthquake of similar size strikes over to the east by southeast. Then, additionally, last night and for the last 3 nights, we talked about pressure building from where the 4.3 is, the red arrow, over to Oklahoma, and that the area in between, there was a tremendous amount of pressure trapped there, and I brought up Mammoth Mountain and the location around Mono Lake. Specifically, directly, and showed the location. So, in the past 3 days, we issued multiple warnings for a 5.7 earthquake to strike in California, and then last night we were talking about Mono Lake, Mammoth Mountain, and here at Mono Lake is where the largest earthquake to strike in years for Nevada and this part of California. There's been some larger earthquakes in California up here to the northwest a couple of years ago, I think 2012 maybe. There were some on-land earthquakes that struck that were significant, but for the on-land, this is the largest earthquake to strike in the continental United States in a few years' time. This is greater than the 5.8 that struck over here in Oklahoma at the start of the year, or halfway through the year, like in the summer. There was a 5 point, get this guys, listen. There was a 5.8 that struck on the coast, here near Eureka, right along the coast, in the middle of the summer. I don't know how long ago this was. It was several months ago. 5.8 struck here. I got on, I issued a warning. I said, watch out over in Oklahoma for an additional size earthquake that could be equal to what struck on the west coast. So a 5.8. The next day, Oklahoma was hit by a 5.8. So this one's a 5.7, but it's 2 5.7s. And as my viewers know, and these 2 5.7s struck within 5 minutes of each other, that my viewers know 2 5.7s equals a 5.87 or a 5.9. And then you add in all the other 5s, and that takes us above 6. Add in all the 2s and 3s, that takes us up even more to like 6.3, 6.4 total expended energy since this whole thing began a couple hours ago, a few hours back. So, all in all, what does it mean? It means originally there was an earthquake off the coast that struck yesterday on the red arrow. It pushed to the east-southeast and hit Mono Lake supervolcanic caldera, exciting the area around the region right down to the border. That is now pushing down to the east-southeast, and you can see the earthquake progression now marked out where our rings are. And let me turn off our magnitude so you can just see the rings. Okay, or let me turn off the rings so you can just see the magnitudes. And you'll see the progression. These earthquakes out to the east have struck since then. So it's pushing to the east-southeast. Same time that happened, down in Southern California, a near 3.0 broke out at an area right next to a volcano that I've shown many times in the past, but I'll show it to you now. You're going to remember this volcano forever. The reason you're going to remember this volcano is because on the inside of the crater, there is graffiti that's been carved in by the locals down here in BC, Mexico. So our earthquake striking right here at the border, you see where it says Mexicali? Now you see just a few miles over to the east, we have Cerro Prieto volcano. And this is part of a volcanic complex that's connected up to the north in California at Salton Sea. But inside the crater, people have carved out in the sand and volcanic ash. And this is marked by the Smithsonian. You don't have to take my word for it on it being a volcano. Okay, you can pause it and read it. So this volcano here is connected due north to the other volcano in Southern California called Salton Buttes. Pause it and read it, marked by the Smithsonian. So the Salton Buttes and Cerro Prieto are both the same kind of volcano. They've erupted along the fault zone, San Andreas, and the reason they've erupted is because wind pressure comes in on the San Andreas, it comes up from underneath. And when it comes up from underneath and the pressure pushes too hard, it causes a rupture at these volcanic locations. Now, this is a volcanic location. If you live on the West Coast, this should be alarming to you. A huge swarm breaking out on the flanks of an ancient volcano. Now, I'm not saying it's going to erupt. I'm letting you know the reason you should be alarmed is because it's prone due to greater pressure coming from off the coast. Something right now has pushed all of California, now down to Central California, and caused a massive swarm at a location that doesn't normally get hit. That means pressure is going to continue transferring to the east. It's not just going to stop there. It's going to go to the east by southeast, mostly to the east. Why mostly to the east? Well, we found over 7 years of research that pressure transfers to the east along the North American craton. Take a look at this last week's earthquake activity. Okay, and let me turn up our ring so you can see heavy movement on the west coast, moderate follow-up movement in the Midwest, and connected by a 4. Now, if I go look up these locations, I've done that this week, so I don't want to bore my viewers too hard, but everybody here who's new, look, now that a 5.7 or swarm equal to 6.0 struck over here at California, we have to watch Colorado and Oklahoma, also Yellowstone, but I'll get into Yellowstone last. Colorado and Oklahoma specifically for new earthquake activity that could be large. It could be equal in size to one of the larger earthquakes that struck over here. Now let me get a sip of my coffee again. Woo, that's way too hot. My coffee pot must be going in overdrive or something. Maybe it's time for a new coffee pot. It's brewing really hot. Okay, so you see this 4.0 at the center of the screen in Colorado? Very rare, right? I mean, we don't normally see large earthquake activity in Colorado. I'll highlight it. Well, that 4.0 in Colorado followed a 4.3 that was off the coast. So first the 4.3 struck earlier this week. Same size earthquake, right? You see that there's two 4.3s out there. One struck yesterday. This one that I'm highlighting now struck 4 days ago, 5 days ago. 5 days ago when it struck, the next day, Colorado was hit by a 4. And where did it occur? Well, I'm from Colorado, or at least I lived out there for several years. I actually grew up in St. Louis here, but I lived in Colorado for many years. And I love Colorado. It's beautiful. And the people who live there, most of them love Colorado as well. And the landscape? Well, wait till you see what's going on here, guys. Why did a 4.0 strike here? Look where I'm zooming in on. This is at the Colorado-New Mexico border. And you'll clearly see that we're zooming in on oil wells and frack wells. Every single one. These aren't campsites. Somebody said to me, you're zooming in on campsites. I'm like, no, these are frack wells and oil wells. You can see the shadow and the outline of the pump head on each one of these. Okay? So I got tired of marking them, but I'm going to back this out and show you the ones that I did mark. Do you see every one of these little spots? Okay, this is New Mexico. This is the state line right here. So the operation doesn't just stop at the state line. They've obviously lobbied both states. And look at Colorado. Look at Colorado. 100 miles in each direction from the front range of the peaks all the way over. Check this out. It goes all the way across and it basically terminates at Trinidad. And then guess what picks up right at Trinidad? Look at our old volcanoes here. So several of these, and these are Telltale, okay, Eagle Tail Mountain Volcano, Turkey Mountain Volcanic Center, all these, Horseshoe Crater. Look at this one. Most people don't know about these. These are volcanoes right at the Oklahoma border. Capulin, Maline Mountain. They're doing excavation on some of these, so you can see the exposed cinder, the black and red cinders associated with that. So it's pretty obvious, right? Okay, so all these volcanoes go right up to the Oklahoma and Colorado border, and the fracking operations stop on the flanks of that. So it's being struck by 4.0 this past week is significant because it's going to be hit again from Colorado to Oklahoma, and it's going to be a significant size earthquake or swarm equal to a significant size earthquake. And you have a few days to prepare, maybe a few days. Usually it's about a 1-day turnaround, but I'm going to give it up to 3. I'm going to give it up to 3 days, And at 3 days, if we don't see any transference, then we will cancel the warning and take it down to a watch. And we'll carry the watch on for the additional part of the week. So, but for the first 3 days, that's where I'm really looking for pressure to transfer once this thing spits out the pressure over to the east. And it already is. The most recent earthquakes show you that. Okay? And they're still significant in size. I mean, we still had some 4s strike, so the location's still definitely shaking. And the people who live there, I guarantee there's some damage on some people's houses nearby. Luckily, it's out in the desert. So we showed it to you before. I'll show it to you one more time. How many people are in here right now? About 625? That's what it looks like, a combined total between my multiple chat rooms. If you're on Twitch, welcome in. If you're on the Dutch Sense International stream over on my backup channel, Tanto Amore to my people over in Italy. And again, here's the location in case you guys are wondering. It's a volcanic center. And the reason it's hit is because pressure has come from off the coast and it's hitting this. These are natural spots where there's fractures in the crust from this supervolcano releasing tremendous amounts of energy, creating these volcanic craters and volcanic centers, I should say, on either side of the supervolcano. And these are well known. Monocraters, Long Valley, Inyo craters. I mean, these are well studied by the USGS. They're aware of these. They're aware of Mono Lake. But to have an earthquake striking there lets us know pressure has built and released due to the events off the coast. So there's always warning signs that there's going to be something striking interior to the coast. When there's movement off the coast, look interior to the coast next. Larger. And we have to watch over the next couple days just in case. So if you're new, I take the warnings very seriously here. I don't just take it lightly. If I'm talking about warning an area, we warned California for the last 3 days. So we try to get it down to a region. I can't get it down to a city or a 100 or 200 mile stretch yet. I'm trying. I'm aiming to get it down to a very fine point to where we only have to warn a few hundred miles and the rest of the state can be all good. But as it stands right now, I would dare say that my accuracy more goes down to a region, which means I can warn a 1-state area, 2-state area, which is good. And if I can get it down even further over study and rigorous detail, then I will. And that's what I'm doing online before you right now as I make these videos and do the live stream. This has all been done. All the discoveries we've made have been done and publicized live for everyone to review and peer review, not just a few select scientists. And if they want to review the information, I've done the full legwork, how to forecast an earthquake, written it out in text, and done a video explaining how to forecast an earthquake to anybody who wants to know. We didn't just get lucky talking about California getting a 5.7 today and having a 5.7 today hit. We didn't. It's not luck. The reason a 5.7 hit here is because a 5.7 hit where our red arrow is that they downgraded to 4.3. That's why. So, what's really going on off the coast? Well, guys, guess what's out there? A volcano. The last time we saw that happen, by the way, an earthquake that they downgraded majorly, it turned out there was a major eruption going on out at sea. And it buried their sensors, and they were all watching it with undersea submarines, but not telling the public about it until a year and a half later. That was the last time there was a large earthquake out there that they downgraded like that. Now today, I think the proof is in the pudding. Go watch my update from last night. If you want to have some fun, if you're bored, go over to my YouTube channel and watch my update. It's like one of the most recent videos. Watch the update from last night where I'm talking about the earthquake off the coast, the 4.3 that, again, they downgraded. Guys, Japan, coast of Honshu, on land near Tokyo, 6.0. There it is, guys. There it is. We warned the area between D, see the letter D, and the north arrow? We warned the letter D to the north arrow for a 6.0 earthquake to strike. And here's a 5.8 that just struck the warned location. And we warned on land, we said between the letter D and the north tip of the arrow, which is pointing to right here. So if you're in Japan, you had a 4-day warning. Today is the day, last night into today. And I told everybody that if Japan wasn't hit by this morning, that I would be canceling the warning. Well, now we don't have to cancel the warning. There's the 6.0 we were looking for. Many agencies are reporting, I see in chat, reporting in at 6.0. You get to see it happen real time on the live stream right before your eyes. So, we issued a warning 4 days ago, for Japan to be on watch for 3 to 4 days for a 6.0. The reason we warned Japan for a 6.0 was because of the activity that struck to the south. So, the activity that struck to the south, I told you, tallied up to a 5.8 to 6.0. And I said I was going to add in a couple points just to be safe to put it at the 6.0 level. And there it is. There's the 6.0. USGS going with 5.8. I think this is actually from the Europeans. Sure is. USGS doesn't have it on their feed yet, but it is most likely on their website at this point. So, another proof example for everyone watching, 700 people, that we had issued a warning. You have to go on my channel and watch the warnings. We talked about Japan over the past several days. The spot we warned was between the letter D and the red arrow. And now that has hit. Wow. So, I think at this point, it would be prudent, if you guys aren't subscribed, please subscribe, and also try to get the warnings out to the people. So that, look, the people in Japan deserve to know that we can forecast down to a few days' time, and down to the magnitude within a few points, and location within a few miles. This is within the region, this is within the magnitude, this is within the time frame. This is now, I'd say this is probably the 15th or 20th time that we've had an earthquake strike that we forecast to strike while I'm on the live stream. It's significant. It still blows me away. It still blows me away. Look, it took 7 years for me to figure this stuff out, and I caught so much hell doing it, you wouldn't even believe. Like, literally, you wouldn't believe. We could sit down and talk about it over a beer some night, okay? So, if you're just now tuning in, now we have 5.8s on both sides of the Pacific. I would like to point out, I would like to show you something here. Now, I'm going to turn on the grid. Take a look at the grid. This is our latitude-longitude grid. And I'm going to put my mouse over the 5.8 that just struck here in Japan, in our warned zone. See how I have my mouse right over this? Or no, you don't see it. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, now you can see the mouse, right? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move my mouse and keep it parked, and we're going to see where it takes us. Now look at this. Do you see anything? Okay? We're only off by a few points of a few degrees at the most. Let me do it from there to there, and I'm not moving my mouse. Okay? Similar sized earthquakes on both sides of the Pacific. I may have to add a set of arrows, yellow, going back across the opposite direction. You know, that it's a tennis match. We've talked about this before. If you're a new viewer, this is going to sound shocking to you, but there is a tennis match of pressure that goes on both sides of the plate to distribute the weight out evenly, or the pressure out evenly. It compensates on both sides of the plate. And we see similar sized earthquakes strike on both sides of the plate within a few hours to a few days. Usually it's the larger earthquakes that do this. The smaller earthquakes don't tend to do that. There's not enough displacement energy to displace the plate. But I find it highly ironic that the 5.8 that just struck in Japan matches up with our 5.8 location, 5.7, over here in California, Nevada. It's not just ironic, they are related. The plate is distributing the weight out evenly. It'll continue to happen. So we're going to see additional size large earthquakes strike in the North Pacific. And I'd like to point out, what's the halfway point between these two earthquakes? When we look at the fault zones, the halfway point brings us right down into Alaska. Now, we were talking about Alaska last night at the 10 p.m. update, and we were talking about central Alaska and the Aleutian Island chains, specifically where I'm zooming in right now. Now, you'll see it is the direct halfway point between these two 5.8s. Well, if you add in all the other earthquakes that are here, and you add in the volcanic eruption at Bogoslav volcano right here at the tip of the Aleutian Island chain that happened over the past couple days, including yesterday, again, a huge blast. If you add those together, the two sets of 5.8s plus the 5 eruption, and an eruption equals a 5, by the way, by my rough calculations, the thousands of small earthquakes associated with a blast equals about a 5. So, if we have two 5.8s plus a 5, we're going into the 6 at least. And we're probably going far beyond that. If we were to see a larger earthquake strike, it would be to strike here at the middle fulcrum point between the 2 points that have moved, and it should strike within the next 72 hours if it's going to strike. So, you have a time frame, you have a location, and you have a magnitude range to watch for. Larger than these two earthquakes here, combined total going up above 6. Okay? So, that's just another example of an area being hit. Japan. We can take Japan off the hit list now. So you've been struck. You were on the menu. Now you've been served. It's 5.8. They may go up. They may go down on that magnitude list. I'm interested to go find out what the magnitude list is, quite frankly. I don't know if the USGS will show it to us, though. Let's go see. Oh, of course, it's not being reported yet by the USGS on their feed. Let's go to their USGS last day all magnitude list. Is it on there yet? Nope. Let's go to the USGS website. How about that? Let's go to the latest earthquakes. Well, they don't have it on the USGS website yet. I mean, I'm on the USGS site. I'm looking at magnitude 2.5 plus and US 4.5 plus world, and they don't have it on the site yet. Maybe they're busy with California. Well, that's troubling. Well, that being said, let's go over to the European list and go check their information. You know, when we can't rely on the USGS to be giving us that information, we can go and check the coast of Honshu, Japan via, look at this. Well, the Europeans are doing a good job, starting out at 6.3. One station reporting 6.3. That's not enough to go on. Let's go check the 6. Okay, what's our magnitude list on this? We don't have magnitudes listed yet. Okay, that's still preliminary. It's coming from the NIED, the Japan agency. Let's go check the 5.6 marked in red. Do we have any magnitudes associated here? Sure do. Okay, so they're limited, but there's a few. 5.3, 5.6, 6.3, 6.0, and 5.4. Okay, that's okay. That's all we're getting right now. That's more like a 6. It's more like a 6. Let's go check the 6. No magnitudes listed yet. That's fine. They're still computing. I'm not going to bother to try to compute. We'll let them do that. It would be very boring, and I'd be sitting here doing math in front of you. So, large earthquake is struck off the coast or on the coast of Japan, and the large earthquake is struck along the interior portion of California at the Nevada border. This is significant. I'm glad you got to see it happen real time. I'm going to go save this video on YouTube to save it for time immortal so people can see it in the future as an example of how a location we named was hit. And it was hit real time on the stream. You don't have to wait for me to make a video. You got to see it for yourself. Several hundred people in here at once. So, the people in Japan, the good news is there's your 6. 6 to 6.2. The bad news is that that's going to cause additional movement on both sides now. It'll be less. It'll be more like a mid-range 5, striking on both sides. So both sides means Kuril Islands to the north at Hokkaido and down to the south at Taiwan. And I also told you guys that if Japan wasn't hit by this morning, that I would be canceling the warning for Japan and reissuing a new warning to the south at Taiwan. Well, that's not going to happen now. So Taiwan's going to be more like a 5.5, and Japan got the larger of the brunt between our letter D and our arrow location. Now, you're not seeing that on the USGS feed because it's not being reported to us by the USGS. So let's go turn on our European feed. Oh, now the USGS has it, of course. Okay, or do they? Hold on. Or do they? Yep, USGS has it now. Okay, There we go. USGS finally has it. Okay, we're going to go check our magnitude list. Do they have those public? Nope. Nope, we're not making that information available to the public, guys. The reason is that science is not for everyone. That's troubling, man. I'm so sick of them not reporting this stuff. Okay, so no chastising of the scientists right now. Just to let you know, you need to have an earthquake plan ready and be prepared just in case. If you live in the Midwest, understand, I don't take these warnings lightly. I have to say this in every one of my videos because there's new people every time. I take it serious. And when we're talking about a 5, mid-range 5, upper 5, it can cause damage. Enough so that it'll knock things off shelves, break plaster that can fall on you, knock down chimneys, take stone facades off the fronts of houses. Okay? That's in the U.S. If it's international, down in South America or over in China or something, we see actual deaths occur. A 5.5 hit down here in Ecuador just a week ago, and 2 people died. 5.5. Well, here's a 5.7 in huge swarm on the West Coast. So, you need to know what to do when an earthquake strikes in the middle of the night. Do you sleep with your shoes on? Do you keep the shoes by the bed? Might want to, because if you have broken glass across the floor, or any kind of broken material across the floor, and you get out of bed in the middle of the night in a large earthquake, you need to be able to slip some shoes on really quick before you go running. And if you have pets, well, you need to take that into account and maybe take the things off the shelves or keep them low or secure them somehow. I don't know what your particular living arrangements are, so I don't know what to tell you to prepare for other than you need to know how to take shelter when an earthquake actually strikes. Soon as the earthquake strikes and you can figure out how big it's actually happening to you, how big a magnitude it is, you can then make appropriate decisions while you're under the table, not getting hit by things, whether or not you need to exit the structure and take that chance of getting hit on the way out, or do you stay underneath the table or the sturdy structure of some kind in your house that protects you from falling objects. And that's only in the bigger earthquakes. So when we're talking about these 5.7, 5.8, it's big enough to cause moderate damage. It can cause cracks in the driveway, cracks in foundations. Luckily, there's not that many houses out here. Let me get a sip of my coffee. Luckily, there's not that many houses. So, in this location right now. But downstream from this, in the Midwest, Oklahoma, Colorado, there are a lot of houses. And if we see a similar sized earthquake, or a swarm equal there too, it's going to cause damage as well. So, it's wintertime. Think about that. It's cold outside. You get caught without heat from a large earthquake? Gas line ruptures? You guys have gas, don't you? Some of you do. Of course you do. Well, you need to know how to turn it off when a large earthquake hits. You need to know where to turn it off. Let me tell you what I've done. In my basement, since I live here in the New Madrid seismic zone, here in Missouri, St. Louis, right underneath the red arrow, okay, down in my basement, the gas comes in through a ground line. And I took a zip tie and took a wrench that I'm not going to miss, and zip tied the wrench to the gas line down in the basement. So, if a large earthquake hits or some other emergency happens and I need to run downstairs and shut off the gas, I don't have to try to find a tool to do it. And it's already zip tied to the thing, so even if an earthquake hits, it's not going anywhere. And I could fumble for it even in the dark if I needed to take it and turn the gas off. That's something that you can do with a zip tie and a wrench. It doesn't take a lot of money to prepare. So, those kind of preps can make all the difference in the world in saving your structure from house fire, those sorts of things. That's just one example. Take a look at your house. Make sure it's somewhat earthquake proof. If you live along these transgression lines. Yeah, these earthquakes are transgressing on us. I've been up for 24 hours, guys. On these seismic transmission lines, which we show here all across the planet. I mean, look, our X mark got hit last night. We were talking about that in the update last night. Our earthquake locations over here in Europe got hit next to Crete. We were looking for a 5.3 and a 5.0, 4.9 hit. I was 0.3 off. Same with on the West Coast. So, have your plans dusted off. You've heard it 1,000 times, but now it's go time. Dust them off. Make sure you know how to do them. Make sure your kids, friends, family, loved one, everyone that you live with. If you have employees, I'd almost say it's a must at this point. If you got employees, it's prudent to do it. You could probably even get some kind of government grant to do it for your business to prepare your employees for earthquake activity. If they don't offer a grant, they should. That would be one good use of government money. So 5.9, 6.0 earthquake has struck in Japan. 5.7, 5.8, 5.9, whatever you want to call it. If you add these up, it goes well above 6, has struck in California at the Nevada border. I'm going to do another update at 7:45 a.m. Central Time. That's 8:45 a.m. East Coast Time and 5:45 a.m. West Coast Time to catch all the people who are waking up on the West Coast who maybe don't know that the largest intermountain California earthquake to strike in years has occurred. So you may want to get the word out to the people and let them know. And I'll be, again, back on at 7:45 a.m. Central Time. So did I just say that? Yes, 7:45, or did I say 7:30? Let's do 7:45. If I didn't say 7:45, we'll say 7:45. Like I said, I've been up for 24 hours. I need to sip on my coffee, take a break talking, and then get back on and do another update. Surely this is going to be carrying on for the next several hours at least, going into tonight and possibly into tomorrow, the swarm. And then we'll see pressure transfer out and over to the east. It's been a long night. It's going to be a long day. Hope you got your coffee and hope you're ready for more, because it's not going to stop in California. Peace out. Much love. Don't be scared. Be prepared.